Well, we're straight back to the 80s with this one, aren't we? The Sharp GF570E, and in brackets BK. I bet the BK stands for black because a lot of Sharp offerings, made when this was in the early to mid 80s, I should think, were silver, weren't they? So, black was perhaps an optional colour. Who could say? Now, I had one of these myself until not long ago, and Adam, Vintage Sounds 14, wanted it because it was so near like this one, it was uncanny. The only difference with mine was that I hadn't got the high-speed dubbing facility, and that could be something of a liability. There were thousands of machines made that were like that. Some of the later offerings had DC bias recordings, and they sounded truly horrible, a lot of them, and the speed wasn't right and all this sort of thing. But they were just aimed at kids' bedrooms and were to be found in crappy MIDI systems that came from Argos. And these chavs are also tone deaf. What would they know anyway? Oh dear, yes. But this set is Adam's. It's come down here for a little bit of repairs, as you may have seen in the other video. And I've put it back together, and I thought you might like a look at what it looks like finally. It had been used for many years in the kitchen in the curry house, so before I even started looking at it, I had the CIA check it over. No use going to our people. I had the CIA check it over in case there were any camel jockeys in there with explosives. You never know, do you? But no, there was nothing of the sort in there, just an awful lot of rather tired mechanics. And this record playback deck had suffered most of all. Both needed new belts and generally cleaning up and a bit of TLC to get them going again. It's a nice little set as it goes. It runs on 8 HP2, they call them D cells now, don't they? And back in the day when it was new, you wouldn't have got much battery life at all from that, would you, unless your parents were stinking rich and bought you Duracells, because this was probably aimed firmly at teenagers who had a bit of a liking for whatever they were playing at the time. Now, strangely enough, this one hasn't got a built-in microphone, and if you want to use a mic, you can plug it in there. Just a mono mic though. The RCA plugs, they'll allow you to connect a CD player or a little turntable. There, of course, that's where you fit your speakers on those spring-loaded clips. And this is how you release the speakers so you can detach them. Oh, there's the specification plate for it. And you can see their maker's name. And 110, 120 volts. And 220, 240 volts. 50 to 60 cycles a second, 30 watts. Well, the frequency of the current won't matter with this because inside everything runs on low voltage DC. What you do if you want to run it on the American voltage or Japanese, remove your lead, undo that screw, slide the plate up, and then put your lead in a little bit further up now, and you're now running on 120. This is in pretty nice condition as they go. It's more or less immaculate, even the rod aerial's intact, right away up to the end there. And the only difference I can see between this and the one I had is the fitting of the high-speed dubbing feature. Mine hadn't got that, perhaps mine was an earlier version, and they hadn't thought of putting that on. But it sounds pretty good for what it is. Nice crisp sound there, and on the playback only. Getting them to run at the same speed's a pig, but it can be done. And, there is definite art to it, as each mechanism has its own motor on this one, which is good because it's just a little bit more reliable, isn't it? And if one ever does die, of course, you've still got the other tape deck. 5-band graphic equalizer and a 4-band radio, no less, FM, long wave, medium wave and short wave. I won't get very much down here because of where I live. Well, that's a coincidence. That's the other part of that Brahms symphony I just played. Oh dear.
Last night I was feeling something wasn't right.
I know the feeling. You see there, the first LED on here is the FM stereo indicator lamp. And you've got normal and chrome tape on here too. This only works on the recording deck, of course. But all told, not a bad little piece of kit. As I say, it stank of curry when it came here because it had been used in the curry house. And yeah, the main bearings in this one were completely shot and had to be replaced complete. Thankfully I had one that would fit. It was a bit like doing James's N2400. It was 99% ingenuity, even if I do say so myself. Another thing you've got here is a full-size headphone socket, so yeah. But all told, not a bad little machine. The only thing I'd have done different if I'd been making this is to put a pause control on the playback deck. Anyway, the battery on this thing is running low again. I don't know what's the matter with this camera these days. It eats batteries. Unless it's the ghosts, of course. You never know, do you? Anyway, see you again soon.